Good afternoon, everyone. I know it's right after lunch, so we have the best slot of the day, like when you guys are at your freshest, most energetic. Thank you, IC3, for giving us the best slot of the day. I'm Bhakti, and these are my colleagues, Kshitija and Rohit. And thank you for choosing to attend our session. I have a quick question for all of you. First of all, before we start, so we just get a reading of the room. How many school counselors do we have in the room here? Okay, how many universities? All right, I'm the only one in the room. Okay, perfect. Second question. Do you know how many career fairs have been planned just in the month of August? Take a guess, nationally, how many career fairs are being planned in the month of August, have been planned? 1,000? No, in India. In India, a little less than that. Sorry. 500? नहीं, वो ज़्यादा हो गया. You had one. Okay. All right. I think almost everyone here has a career fair that's planned between August or September, right? Especially if you're a Hyderabad school, it's definitely happening in August. So on an average, between the months of July to November, you have over 100 career fairs happening every month nationally. That's a lot. If you look at the number of universities that attend these fairs, they run into probably 40, 50, depending on the size of the school, the infrastructure available. And each university does not have more than 1 or 2 or 3 representatives in the country. We are talking about international. Indian universities might have regional representatives. Do you know what that means? That most of your fairs have to be skipped. So universities have to choose where to go based on sheer logistics, nothing to do with whether they want to come to your school or not, right? The whole purpose of this session is when Kshitija, Rohit, and I came together and we were talking about the one common pain point that we all felt. I represent a university, Kshitija represents a school, and Rohit represents KIC UnivAssist, who are pioneers in school fairs. In consortium universities, they take delegations of international universities across different schools, not just in India, but globally. The collective learnings and pain points that we came to were that, yes, the increase in the number of career fairs in India is a great sign of awareness. Okay. But the challenge is, are these efficient? Are these serving the purpose? Or are we just doing these as checklist items in schools? And that's the big question. And so my next question to all of you, and this session is going to be a lot of questions, okay? What do you think is the purpose of a career fair? And what do you think is the purpose of a college fair? What is the purpose of a college fair? Anyone? One at a time, guys. Yes. Can we have a mic here, please? Thank you. Yeah, go ahead. In the university. College fair is about college course awareness. Okay, like degrees, what are the degree options? Okay. And what is the second part that you mentioned? Yeah. Correct. Okay. So everyone agrees fundamentally that there's a difference between career and college fair? Is there? Who says there isn't a difference? Negligible? Why do you say that?
Counselor Bhakti, nor am I with a university. I think one of the essence for us as organizations and what we like to look at it is it's just knowing what the student should do. What do you want to do? I was at a panel sometime back last week. And again, it was very, very like you have one. And one of the things that came out very, very sharply for us was we were talking about careers. We were talking about, okay, what do you want to do? Degrees, job opportunities, strengthening the force. But what does the student want to study? You can get a job. I mean, I can talk about myself. I studied philosophy and my first job was as a stockbroker. It has no relation.
All right. The purpose of a college fair is awareness of college options. The purpose of a career fair is a more holistic experience. There is a huge difference. The reason is, in a college fair, you have universities who are representing institutions, and they're being represented by professionals who are not career counselors. They do not have the locus standi to advise your children on future options, other than the courses that they offer in the institution. So the whole conversation today really is about how do we make college fairs more effective, because they are only going to increase in number year on year. And there's a lot of investment that's being made, not just by universities, but also by schools. So I'm going to quickly invite Kshitija here. The three of us are first going to present our own perspectives in terms of challenges that universities, schools, and companies like UnivAssist face. And then we're going to go into a little bit of an activity. Kshitija, over to you. I forgot to change the second slide. Go ahead.
Is it working?
Yes, yes.
No.
Yeah, it's working. It's working. Move on.
Yeah. So, first of all, good afternoon. And I hope all of you had a good lunch. And I hope that we have a meaningful discussion here. So anyway, since Bhakti has just given the context, and it's really challenging these days. And with the increasing trends, I think it is going to be even more challenging in future. So yes, as a school, what the challenges could be, because most importantly, to fit in these events into the school calendar. That's very, very, like, schools have a lot of things already going on. And then, of course, we need to find a time where we have to, organize such mega event. Because why mega? Because, of course, you are doing it in a day, 3-4 hours of a day, and then whole lot of students and everything. So, of course, it's a mega event. So, putting this event in your calendar is a biggest challenger. Which time of the year when the universities can make it? Which time of the year where students are relatively free, the campus is relatively easy going that point in time. So, of course, a lot of calendar challenges. Format, what kind of format? Are you going to do just the fair? The university is going to be there. They're going to just meet students, go. Or you want to bring creativity into it. Like you are running parallel sessions like we are doing here, or it's going to be opening with a panel discussion, then we let the students to go and attend the fair. So of course the format is again a challenge. Choice of countries, because what I personally feel that it should be very much aligned. A lot of schools tend to just, as Bhakti said, that we are just, are you just checking the list that okay, done, university fair done. So is it how you are going to plan? Like, are you planning only international at one point in time, Indian at another point in time, or you're just bringing anyone, everyone to have a good number, right? To show your parents, show your management that, oh, we have done this. This is done. No matter the universities were relevant to the kids or not, no matter it was Indian university representatives didn't get any time, or the international, because there was not much of time. I mean, it's not a whole day affair, just 3-4 hours. And if hundreds of universities are there, practically it is not possible for the students to take that much of information, right? So of course, time management for the university delegates, because it's just 3-4 hours. How will they manage? Say if you have 500 students in the senior school, how will they manage with 3-4 hours with 500 students? Of course. And then also, then some of the, every school has its own policies about data sharing, picture sharing, and everything. That's again a challenge. Because as a university, we understand that people want to follow up with the students and get in touch with them. But school policies, you have to set and understand, discuss with your management that what are we really going to allow them to share data, or are we sharing data with them so that they can do a follow-up or not? So these are the few challenges which I feel as a counselor is there before we plan such an event, right? So of course, we'll talk about the solutions little later. And moving ahead, we have a university perspective. So
yeah, thanks, Kshitija. I think right now we're just focusing on the challenges. We're coming to the solutions We're not going to show you the solutions right away. We're going to work those out ourselves. But before we get to the university challenges, can you all just stand up in your place for a second, please? Thanks. Like, wake up. And just clap. Just clap. Just clap. Stand up. Stand up. Clap. Clap. Okay, sit down. All right. Thanks. So as a university, one of our biggest challenges is because it's a sheer logistical challenge. The sheer number of fairs that happen versus the resources that you have. How do you prioritize which schools to visit? And sometimes it's not even a function of, a lot of universities, and honest to God, don't even have a strategy around it. They simply say, we are available, the cost is X, let's just go. There is no data analysis that's happening on, how conducive is that school to your university? Is it something that, is your university going to appeal to the students, the socioeconomic demographic in that school? Those kind of analytics do not exist in a lot of universities. It's literally a herd mentality. Often we end up going to schools which are prestigious, but might have 0 applicants coming to us for the next 5 years. And that happens because it's the FOMO of losing out on going to a prestigious school. As a result, we make poor choices. Financially and environmentally unsustainable. We talk about environmental sustainability till the cows come home. We don't have like plastic bottles of water here. We have those glasses. Do you know the carbon footprint of an outreach professional is insane? It's ridiculous. And it's not just about the flights we take in a year. It's also about something as simple as going from one school to another. You have 3 school fairs in a day. There are 50 university representatives. Between those 50, there are 40 vehicles, 40 cabs. Imagine how unsustainable that is. And this is a result, again, of poor collaboration, 0 collaboration. Just not talking to each other. Hey, where are you going? We're all going to the next school. Let's just carpool. No, that doesn't happen. Schools exercising selectivity. A lot of schools have a bias or a rigidity on the kind of universities they want to allow, right? Which is fair. It's their prerogative, but that's a challenge that we face as universities. The number of universities in a college fair. I think given that there is no pre-orientation to students on who is coming and who should you prioritize for interaction, students literally walk in and they're just collecting brochures, right? And then you're lost in the crowd. So you have a university set up, you've invested all that money, and you're standing there, and students have no clue about your university unless you are a very, very well-known brand, okay? And student involvement and awareness, again, like I said, 0 pre-orientation. So kids come and ask the most ridiculous questions like, what is the name of your university? But that's unacceptable. And, it comes a lot from the mindset that university reps are sales reps. And that's really unfair. So I think as a mindset, the way we orient students to interact with university admission officers and representatives fundamentally needs to change because it reflects in the way they interact with us. Last but not the least, measuring outcomes. If we go back and dig the data on all the fairs that we do in a year, outcomes of application conversions are so poor that if we were to do this exercise as a set of universities, right, I like literally come out with a report on the most effective college fairs, the next year, more than half of the school fairs will be dropped. Universities will stop coming to the fairs. There are solutions to fix this, but these are the challenges so far. Over to you, Rohit.
Thank you, Bhakti. And good afternoon, everybody. Good to see a room full of counselors and high school, delegates. I actually come from an organization, not a high school, not a university, but I do still believe that we play a very important role in this whole ecosystem of, exposing our students to universities, to careers, and, all of that. We as an organization, we actually face more challenges than universities. Definitely there's the value proposition for high schools. A lot of times, and this is very recent years, right? There's been a tremendous growth in fairs, in agents, in a lot of malpractices around student admissions and student recruitment that oftentimes we come across as an organization that's probably not doing the right thing. So that has actually become one of our pain points. Schools not trusting us. So not looking at what value are we really providing, just looking at us as an outsider who's trying to get into the school. So that's been one of our major challenges. Lack of flexibility. I visit almost 200 plus high schools in a year. And every time I reach out to a school, the only time that they would give me is the lunchtime or the break time visit, right? There is obviously a lot of, lack of flexibility. And one of the things that we always tell them is, how do you justify a group of 20 universities coming for 20 minutes during a break time? Is that even a viable option? Are you doing justice to your students or the universities or anybody else? So there's obviously, some lack of flexibility around there. The university group size and demographics. Now, oftentimes schools would want to host a large group. They would want to go host 40 universities on campus, but their cohort size, their graduating class would be about 25 students. And they would still give you about half an hour for that slot. Does that justify, the purpose of what we're trying to achieve there? So yeah, those are, again, from a demographic standpoint also, we're living in a glamour-struck world where talk to any counselor, even today, if I just go around and ask any counselor, the first names that they would give me are all the brand names, all the Ivies and Oxbridges of the world. But are we really trying to do this career fair to expose our students? Somebody talked about awareness. Are we doing this for awareness? Or are we, like Bhakti mentioned, doing this just for the sake of, checking a box on our to-dos? So I think as counselors, as communities, that perception has always been there that, okay, my kids are going to only apply to the top schools. But are we really looking at the demographics of our own students? So that's been one of the pain points as well. Change in counselor and leadership. Post-COVID, we've actually seen a lot of turnover with high schools, with counselors changing, with principals changing. As an organization, we try to maintain those relations. But when there's some change that happens, all that relationship goes for a toss. So that's there. And student engagement and attendance, Bhakti has already touched based upon that. A lot of times we're not seeing that kind of engagement. Today, a lot of schools are just hosting fairs or career fairs, college fairs for universities without actually looking at their own, cohort sizes. And they're hosting these fairs for 100 university. I'm actually scheduled to go to Bangkok, where we have a fair with 130 universities for 600 students. I mean, it honestly doesn't justify the purpose that we're trying to achieve there. So university representation quality, there are some reps who actually take the efforts to fly thousands of miles to be here with your students. And then there are some reps who are based in country supporting the university. And then there are some, third party who are just representing them. Are we looking at the quality of those, representatives? Are those the ones who are actually giving you firsthand or authentic information? Counselors do not realize that. For them, a lot of them assume that if the rep is a regional rep, they must be an agent. Many a times, that's something that I've observed. And then student interest with the universities. It's the same for students as well. They are looking at all the top brands. Are we really educating them to look at the right fit? We always tell this to universities that when you go to a school, and Bhakti shared a great point, which is schools look at universities as sales rep. We're not sales rep. We're counselors, we're educators, and we're trying to follow a counseling-based approach, which is first educate your students about the courses available, about our universities. But then we don't want that student if that student is not even going to be a right fit for us. So that's the approach that I think most of the universities follow. But as high schools, are we really, putting that effort to educate our students to look or be open with their approach? I had a student who applied to, all 7 top institutions and got a reject from all of them. Did not have a safe school. Are we really educating them about that? So these are just some of the challenges. The challenges are endless. And I think what we really need as a community, our higher ed community is anyways a very small, closely knit community. But what we need as a community is collaboration to understand each other, to understand whether the information is authentic, whether the people are authentic, and whether it's going to benefit your students. If you ask me, across all stakeholders, which is high school counselors, universities, us, students is actually in the center of it. So are we really thinking about that? Or are we thinking about what the management is asking? How are we going to compete with other school? Okay, the other school hosted a fair with 50. Are we going to host a school fair with 70? So these are just some of the questions. And again, we want this session to be a little bit of interactive. We want to hear your perspectives. You are the best people who've been dealing with some of these, case studies. You can guide us as to what might be, the best solution out here. We'll share some of those details, but I think we want to hear from you. Whether what we're saying, does that even make sense? Or do you have a different perspective? So please share that with us. We'll come to that part a little later. I know Bhakti has, arranged for an exciting activity. So we'll do that. Over to you, Bhakti.
Thank you. Let's do this. Okay, guys. So we talk about experiential learning, hands-on learning. It's time to do that. It's time to be students. The room will be split into 4 randomly. So we'll just cut across the room like this and like this. Okay. And there are 2 case studies. One is a school perspective. One is a university perspective. This side of the room will get the university perspective. This side of the room will get the school perspective. So case study 1, whip out your smartphones and take a picture of the case study. So you're a school located in a metro city. You need to plan a college fair and pay attention to the bracket S, okay, to accommodate country and course diversity. You have a capacity. Now, here are the caveats. These are your challenges. I mean, this is your situation. You have a capacity to accommodate 40 universities in a single fair. That's your infrastructure. Student strength, 250 across grades 12, 300 across grades 9 and 10. And your parent turnout tends to be poor. Okay. Prepare a college fair proposal that you're going to submit to your management. Okay. Yes, it's time to do some work. So these are the factors that you have to cover. Keep it brief, keep it concise. You don't have to write a thesis on it. Each point can be like 2 lines. All right. So top 2 takeaways from the college fair for your students. So what are the top 2 objectives that you have in mind for the college? At the end of the fair, what do you think should be the top 2 learnings for your students? Propose number of fairs or interactions. Propose dates with reasoning. Why are you calendarizing the way you the format and duration, university invitation. How are you going to invite and select the universities that you're going to invite? Or the least strategy to boost parent involvement. You've taken a picture of this, all right? Quickly get into your groups. And for this side of the room, the university case study. You are a part of a new age Indian university based out of Bengaluru. Okay. Choose between attending one of the following 3 opportunities, demonstrating the ROI, return on investment, to your department head. Okay, so which one of these 3 will you choose? Yes, it's time to put on university shoes and put yourself in the university's place and think of how we grapple with these challenges. So option 1, are you going to attend an international curriculum school fair in Mumbai, which is 75 students? That's the total turnout. Option 2, a national curriculum school fair in Delhi, about 150 students, and a fair at a newly established international curriculum school, 20 students. So option 2 is you can do both on one day. Okay. Option 1, you can only do this. Option 2, you can do 2 on one day. Option 3, open to all fair, B2C. All right. Huge turnout, massive turnout. It's by a local guidance company, though. It's not a school. So it's a B2C fair. Now, The cost of this fair is 15,000 plus taxes. This is the cost. These are the challenges. Only one of the options. You can't do all three. You can do only one. Take a picture of this, guys, because good students. Look, your total budget is only 15,000. Total budget is 15,000. You're the only person who can travel to attend. Framework of the solution should include all of these things. Why did you choose the fair that you chose? Now, if you think you're going to sit in this room and hear one-way stuff, that's not going to happen. So let's get into your groups quickly. Come on. Split the room into half. You know what the instructions are. You've taken pictures of your case study. Let's start now. That's one group right there. This is one group right here. Chop, 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 guys. Come on. You have like 8 minutes. Let's do this. Yes, yes. You can turn your chairs around. You can move faster. It's all good. She's from Wellington and he had to be here. Oh, we're starting the Southeast Asia tour in a couple of weeks. Exciting. Always is. 20 11 days, 7 days. 8 days, working days. 8 working days. All right, you have another 2 minutes to go. Start thinking of who's going to represent your groups. Okay, how many groups are done? This group is done. That group is done. Do you guys need a minute? Okay, a minute and a half. Renoza, is your group done? A minute? Okay, you know who's representing you, right? Yeah, just make sure you designate someone to represent the group, 1 or 2 people. We can start with the group here. Yeah, let's go. Yeah. Come, Devesh. Just introduce yourselves and yeah, sure, come on. So each group, let's do this quickly, guys. We are on a timeline here. So each group gets about 2 to 3 minutes to present. That's it. Be succinct and to the point, right? Introduce yourselves, which organizations you're from, and then go ahead.
Thank you, Bhakti. So this is our group was representing the school case study, the first point, and we did have a lot of discussion around our own school. When we were starting to the conversation, it was coming out as our own school, but we brought it back to the case study where I represent Vishwavidyapeeth, which is in Bangalore.
I represent the Next Genius Foundation and
Okay. So the debate was about having 1 fair or 2 fairs. Yes, after a lot of discussion, we came to a conclusion that 2 fairs based on the student availability, university availability, we can do 2 fairs. And also having a session on the PTM day. It was suggestion from one of our colleague. So that is something which came out to be very, very positive. Parents will be involved. One of the points, if you look at how do we bring parents into the whole dynamics, it is they will be definitely coming to have a conversation about academics. So PTM day will be one of the most important thing which we can look at.
The second session, so the 2 fairs that we thought we should do, one would be for Indian universities, one would be for foreign universities. The foreign universities can come somewhere around IC3 because we see a large number of universities coming to India during this period. So the fair can be planned in a way that it can be before or after, but I understand that that is a period when a lot of fairs are happening all together. But but that makes sense. That's why it's happening, right?
Yeah. So in the process, we also discussed about having a separate session for grade 9 and 10 and also for 11 and 12. So, in that, the whole point is to bring awareness for grade 9 and 10, talk to them about the different universities, the courses, countries, and also a slight introduction to the finances, scholarships, all those things at that early age itself. And then when it is moving to grade 11 and 12, it will be more to do with the application, narrowing it down and bringing the application process. To add flavor to this, we even thought about a panel discussion that can actually bring them all together, especially with grade 9 and 10, to bring in parents also in that panel discussion with the university representative, a counselor, a student who is already building profile. That will make the day little lively and people will get involved.
Yeah, and finally, coming to the 2 takeaways. First is, the younger students should go back with an idea that, okay, what are the kind of majors that I can study? And eventually build on the top of that what I want to study in college. And the elder students, grade 11 and 12 students, can go back to their homes with an idea of what kind of university would they like to go to. They probably might have a university list or universities that they would apply to. And at the same time, the parents will go back with an idea of the kind of cost associated with education in different countries.
And also profile building was one of the most important discussion we had in our group, with students getting to know about the universities. So that will be the takeaway.
Thank you, groups. Thank you for that. I think this is a great start. Probably if you all have your notes as a part of your discussion, this doesn't end here. When you go back to your schools, please rationalize this further, because obviously 15 or 20 minutes is not enough to get to the root of what we are trying to do here, but rationalize this more. For example, profile building, right? Like grades 9 and 10, what does that even mean? Who are you going to invite? Is it just going to be universities? Is it only summer program focused? Are you also focusing on online courses? Are you inviting companies? Like there's a lot of rationalization that can be done over here. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
If I can just quickly add to that point about profile building, by a quick show of hands, how many of us are from schools that have IB and A levels and the national curriculums? Few of us. Oftentimes we've seen, typically at international curriculum schools, the profile building starts right at the 9th grade onwards. That is not happening at national curriculum schools so much. So I think that's something that we really need to build as a community, which is best practices of, supporting those students to start looking at opportunities, higher opportunities and profile building right at the 9th grade. So I just wanted to quickly add that point since, we talked about it.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the second school group, guys. Just do introduce
one more point.
the schools you would represent.
Hello.
Hi, I am Abhita Gada and I am from Reliance Foundation School, Navi Mumbai.
Yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself. Yeah.
So I am Chandra from Oak Ridge International School, Vizag.
Or rather, I'm the school counselor.
Okay.
Me too.
Okay. Quickly, two takeaways from the college fair, pretty much similar to what the previous group had mentioned. So more so college awareness and course options. Some of the other members from the group also wanted to add giving a little bit more exposure and understanding about what liberal arts education is all about. So probably a lot of colleges that would come to your school would be speaking about liberal arts as well as scholarship opportunities. So we have written this as 4 takeaways. Anything you want to add?
No,
Okay. Proposed number of fairs and interactions. I'm going to have my school fair happening on 4th of September. So this session is exactly what I need. Although I feel I'm a little late for a lot of things and I don't know how much of it I'm going to be able to learn and implement. But still, I mean, this introspection is good. So I think what we could look at is like we are having a global fair coming up on the 4th of September. Just in the beginning of this month, we had a destination study fair where we had UK university representatives that had come to our school. So maybe that could be a way that we could have, while the others said that, we could have 2 fairs, keeping 2 terms in mind, but I don't know how doable that is, given how chock-a-block, a school calendar can be.
I'll add a point for interactions. So for the students, they look for like different diverse countries. So I want all the students to know about all the countries. So we can have a comparative study analysis of all the countries together. Like we can just pick up one university from each and every country, and then they can have a comparative study that how the applications work for US, Canada, UK. So they have a proper idea.
Chandra, you want to say about the proposed dates for these things? Okay, so we were thinking, considering that August, September is a time where most of the universities fair happen. Our idea to it is that, across curriculums, I think this is a month also where most of the academic sessions start. Like, for example, from a CBSE school perspective, we have our 11th graders who only join in the month of end of June or July. So I think ranging from, by the time they set in the curriculum, in the school setup, they've just graduated from 10th to 11th. We feel August and September is a time where they are more ready to know, what are their options in that sense. And then, well enough in time before the first season of application starts across, all the universities in the world. So that's what our reasoning is for dates or the month.
Wrap it up in another 30 seconds.
Okay, proposed format and duration. So we were looking at a 3-day or a 1-day format, school to school, however the logistics and the planning works. University invitation and selected strategy, we were looking like a pre-survey sort of a thing, wherein we know how many universities or what are the kind of universities that students are looking at applying to. And strategy to boost parent involvement. So like, for example, in our school in August, we have PTM. So that's the time where we can talk about having such fairs or during parent orientations, as well as in your invites that go out to the parents, it can be a little bit more in detail. So that's how you can get the parents involved.
Adding to the point, so for university invitation and selection strategy, so what our school follows the strategy is like we distribute the form among all the students. We give them 1 week time to shortlist the universities which they want to, and then we collectively see what universities are the prospective ones, and we invite them so that the students and the parents will have confident discussions with them because the student wants to go into that university. So yeah, thank you.
I have so much to say about the selection strategy that you just shared, because I do think that, yes, while you're soliciting, and this has nothing to do with your school in general, it's worth thinking about. So how much do students know, to dictate who's invited? Also, is that plugged in with the counselor inputs, new emerging universities, and what your data says about placements in the last 3 or 4 years? Where have the students actually gone and studied? That data analysis is very, very important. Also, diversity of courses. If you're seeing that there's a skew of your cohorts in a particular direction, it's not a great thing. It's time to review and see that if all, like 89% of the kids are going towards STEM, I mean, perhaps a little bit more exposure might be a good idea to other disciplines, right? Okay, so moving on to universities. Also, just food for thought. Why does it have to be a fair? You know, the term fair means mela, jhamela, chaos, right? It does not have to be a fair. So, like, reimagine these interaction formats. Let's start with this group. It could be a summit. It could not even, it doesn't even have to be an event. Literally, like it does not have to be an event. Go ahead. This group, quickly, you have like 2 or 3 minutes. So let's move it. Come, Bhavna, come. Oh, you're the soul representative.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Bhavna from the Heritage School. So, can I have the slide?
Where's the slide?
Yeah, next one. Okay, so framework of the solution. First one, list of factors we have considered. First one is being new age university. We thought that they need early relationship building with educators in the school. Also need to tap diverse background of students and parents. And option 2, we thought that is the most viable option across. Can you show the, yeah, option 2, which is a national curriculum school fair in Delhi, about 150 students in a fair at a newly established international curriculum school, about 20 students. So before, deciding on this option 2, we planned that we will ask counselors, both the counselors, that we will create a short survey and where we're going to ask certain questions like how many students will be participating, what is the venue, timings, what type of students are coming, and what are the different options they are looking at. If they are looking at Indian universities, is it like government or private? If it's private, are they looking at new age universities or not? So kind of a detailed discussion we'll have before deciding on the options. And then definitely when we have to convince to our department, we'll definitely show them that, early engagement with educators of the school really helps, because it's a new age university. We need to build relationship with school counselors. So that really helps. And second thing is close relationship with close interaction with parents and students. So it's not always about the numbers. It's important to have a quality students when it's a new age or a new university coming up. So let's, these are the points which we have discussed.
Thanks, Bhavna. Thanks. It's also very interesting that you said, because it's a new university, new age university, it's not about volume, it's about quality. That's very debatable. But it's a good point. I think a lot of new universities also look at just filling the top of the funnel, as we call it, with, oh my God, there's so much interest. We have to show so many leads and all of that. But that's an interesting point. Let's have the last group quickly. You guys have like a couple of minutes to present. Those are the perks of going last. So you have the least amount of time. Yay! Okay, which university are you from?
So, yeah. Hi, everyone. So I am from the University of Liverpool, and I think the case study fits best in our remit, actually. So we also went with the option 2, and the reason being because we are getting a mix of both national and international curriculum. So that is one thing. Then we also discussed about the pros and cons of option 1 and option 3. So whilst option 1 limits us to just international students, and also considering that we are a new age university in India, so you need to have that option of targeting both national and international students. Had it been probably my university or any of the US or UK universities, we would have definitely opted for option 1, because we know that's the funnel that you cater to, and they generally understand how the system works. The reason why we did not go for option 3 is because there's a lot of things that you need to understand once from a university's perspective. So of course, whilst the 15K is a reasonable number, a reasonable amount here, you are not taking into consideration that once the second or the third party comes in to recruit, they'll be charging another commission models and stuff. And the other thing also is that if you are doing a recruitment through a third party, the university who actually knows the kind of talent pool that you're looking at, that can't be relied on from a third party. So that was our reasoning for going with option 2. Yeah.
Thanks for that. And with that, first of all, give yourselves a big round of applause. You did not sleep in a post-lunch session mostly. Saw some of you nodding off, but most of you did not sleep. Well done. Yes, go ahead. You have something to say?
Hi, my name is Shivani. I have a question for the universities. Don't take me wrong. Okay. So you know that word you said, mela, it comes off as a fair, and it bothers me a lot. And I'm a clinical psychologist, just newly trying to learn how to be a career college counselor. Still figuring out. But when you approach a school, or when a school approaches you, can the universities not have a system like, okay, we are going to send all the information beforehand. This is our video. This is our information. We are giving you 1 month of time. We want from you, dear schools, we want from you the name of those 10 students, and only those 10 students, depending 10%, 20%, 20 students, whatever, depending on their strength. We want their names beforehand, who will come and talk to us in room number or classroom 7A. And let only those 10 students who have expressed an interest to go to this XYZ university, and not just collecting brochures.
Yeah. So Shivani, absolutely. And that's what the format conversation is, right? We are talking about that in our solution. So right now, yeah, exactly. So when you talk about formats, and that's why I said, is it a mela? Is it a Jamela? What are we trying to do here? Is it conducive? Probably not. And when you say that, students beforehand, like you vet students who are interested, that takes a lot of work from the counselor first. So it's the counselor who has to create that awareness and do that whole structured conversation with students to shortlist. And then the university, it's not the university that's going to say, hey, send me 10 students. That should be your approach as counselors, which would be, let's have that conversation in Q&A. We'll move ahead first. We also have a bunch of people with us online. Hello, online folks. A big hi. Hi. Okay. So yes, I think they also had a little bit of a conversation. So go ahead and unmute yourself, whoever is wanting to comment on the case studies. Does anyone want to say anything? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Monisha.
Hi, Monisha. I just wanted to add one thing. When we had this, group 1, grade 9 also, you can start giving them about internships. That's how they would understand, build that what is it all about, rather having the pressure in grade 11 and 12. So how does it work? Little on the job sort of a thing, understanding, so that 11th and 12th, they don't feel the pressure. We need to do so many things together. So I feel internships also should be introduced.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Monisha. And I think that comes down to defining the purpose grade wise. Your grades 9, not even 9, I would say 7, 8, 9, 10 purpose is very different from 11 and 12. And you can't decide format before purpose. You have to decide purpose and then format, then duration, then frequency. So thanks for that, Monisha. We'll move on to our next slide, which is essentially, yes, go ahead. I think Akshitija, you're going to now talk a little bit about the do's and don'ts, the pre-fair prep. So these are the solutions that now we have put together. Go ahead.
Okay, so I think we spoke about challenges. We had a lot of discussion around, how things has to be done, and it was fair enough. Like we had really good ideas, and we understand you have a good understanding. But yeah, still we have some, some kind of solutions which you might would like to use in your future fairs. So of course, I mean, we all understand there's a lot of preparation. For me, it's a month's preparation to organize one event, especially when it comes to global, because there's a lot of diversity in the groups, like various countries, various type of colleges and everything. So of course, it's very, very important to do some work before the fair. So most importantly, the school profile. That is very, very important. How many of us are making school profile? We have school profiles. Great. So those who don't, please start working. You anyway need it, for the college applications of your kids. And if even if you're not, your kid is not needing it, but that's how the universities know you. They know. I mean, you have website, but college profile is a very niche kind of information which is handy information to them. What curriculum you are following, what is your assessment process, what is your grading process, everything, what has been your past collegiates and everything. So it's kind of an information which they can just read and understand, okay, this is the type of the school where I'm going to. And the universities will be more prepared to interact with your students, right? So what curriculum you are following, are you the combination of international and national curriculum, or you're just the national curriculum? So everything we will in the end show you some school profiles here. So maybe that is helpful, and we are happy to share. If possible, as we were discussing, please try to have a country specific fair if the time permits, your calendar permits. And if not, my suggestion is at least keep India and international separate, because that's fair for the students majorly and the university representatives also. Because see, sometimes it's just the peer pressure. I have seen that particularly where the group of students are avoiding Indian universities because they think they don't want to show their peers that we will be applying to them. Right? So that's a pressure. So, and for the universities also, I mean, Indian universities are equally important to us, and ultimately they do apply to them, right? So don't waste anybody's time. If anybody who's coming to your organization, your school, let's make sure that that time they're giving us is constructive. They're getting at least something out of it. They're meeting good students. They're sharing their information with them. So let's not just be this thing, okay, checklist done, Indian, international, all done, and I'm through. And the management will not say, what did you do? I've done my bit, right? So it's not our bit, it's our responsibility, which we need to. So if not, if you cannot fit in country specific, at least make it Indian and international abroad, right? Again, we have all senior school students, and in some of our groups, there's been a debate about involving grade 9 and 10 students. Why not just 11th and 12th? No, I mean, the entire senior school. We all know as a college application process, it begins from the senior school. Grade 9 and 10s need to meet the universities to understand what they look into a student, to understand what they want. Yes, you can slot them. Of course, grade 12 needs a bigger slot with the universities. Little less, maybe for grade 11, they'll prepare. But 9 and 10 also need slots. So it's always good to rather to make the fair open for all entire senior school together. Even it's easy on the universities to speak to the students if they are slotted class wise, because then they know which level they have to talk to, what context they have to talk to, right? If grade 12s, they are majorly talking about courses, applications, requirements and all. 11th, they know, right? Even 9, 10, they would just focus what they are looking at. Wherein somebody mentioned about profile building and all, right? So they can lay emphasis on that. So please slot your students well enough. It's easy to manage also for the students, and it is easy on the university delegates also. Be clear about your data and photo policies. Every school has certain policies. So be clear with the universities rather than, having a later heated conversations that you were not supposed to take the data, do not take the data, do not take a picture, do not share the picture. Please mention them very clearly during your invitation or the final interaction with them, that whether they are allowed to collect data from the students or not. Are they allowed to take pictures? Are they allowed to post pictures on their social media handles or not? So that's very, very important. Please be clear to avoid any, later hassles, because ultimately it's we as a counselor and the universities who are going to work for the betterment of students. If you're not willing to share a data, but please allow them to understand how they can follow up with the students in that case, right? So put a system in place where they know everything before they are coming to your organization. And do tell them about the number of students are expected at the fair. Like some of the fairs are done in collaborative way. Like in my school, we have Vellum girls and Vellum boys. So 2 schools with the like a sister brother kind of school. So I always tell my universities that my student number is this, and I'm expecting another 50 students from my co-school, and 50 boys will be here also, so that they have enough material. They know that what time they have to slot in. And so it's not a bad situation to the university delegates, and they're prepared well in advance. So I think these are the pre-fair checklists that we need to do.
Thanks. We're at time, so we're going to have to move quickly on this. I'm going to invite Rohit to talk about the university checklist. Oh, that's me. All right, cool. So there are a bunch of things that we need to do as universities. Definitely just the way we want the schools to share their profiles beforehand. And it's one thing for you to have a profile. It's another thing for you to share it with universities. By the way, we do not receive school profiles when we go to college fair. So I don't know what you guys are talking about. So if you have a school profile, it's not coming to us for sure. So please make sure you send it to us. And similarly, ask for universities to share their profiles with you, because you want to consolidate it as a PDF and share it with your students beforehand, before the fair, so they know which universities to expect. Request. So we want to make sure that we're going to ask you for, which grades are expected, how many, because if we don't know that, again, sustainability, we are printing an insane number of brochures. There's a waste that's happening. We don't know what we're carrying. There's a lot of time and money invested as well. So we need to be conscious of quantities. We need to know our basics. I know a lot of university representatives go to schools. They don't even know what curriculum that school is following, which is ridiculous. It's unacceptable. So we need to do our homework, and you need to insist that the university reps that come to you know something about your school beforehand, where school profile really makes a difference. Also, having that profile on the desk, by the way, for the university is very, very helpful. Each table should have a copy of that school profile. That is hugely helpful. If you don't want to print it, just WhatsApp it or email it. And last but not the least, we need to send trained reps. Okay, we cannot send substandard or unprepared individuals who are not trained to speak to 13 and 14-year-olds. It is not okay. You can't have people talking to 13 and 14-year-olds when they've never done that before. So you need to be very, very conscious and ask universities on who is representing. Ask for a profile. Who's coming from the university? What's their locus standi, right? That's very, very important. Very quickly, Rohit, over to you.
And I think just to add to one point on the universities, being non-judgmental about students. Often universities become very judgmental in the way students would talk and the way they would, appear in front of you. So being non-judgmental, but again, most of these things are self-explanatory. I'm not going to talk about everything in the interest of time, but I do want to take a moment to just quickly highlight, often we send students to these fairs without even giving them an orientation about why this is important. We just have a bunch of universities at our campus and we just take them down and be like, go and meet with them. That doesn't help students. You got to tell them the purpose. You got to tell them, about right fit. Where we emphasize a lot on right fit. I think that's what we need to do to orient our students about. So you've already, done all the registration, but as part of the registration process with universities, are we taking some, data about universities that would actually help our students during the fair? If you're putting together a form, don't just ask universities about their name, email, phone, and university. Ask them about the top programs that they offer. Ask them about whether they offer scholarships. Ask them whether they need standardized tests. Ask them fun fact about them. Make it interesting. Don't make it, our students are going and meeting with almost some schools I know of have hosted like 500 plus universities, right? That's an awful lot of universities for students to meet with. So let's make it interesting. As counselors, put together a file that will, and it doesn't have to be a fancy file. It can be just an Excel sheet or Google sheet that says, okay, name of the university, standardized tests, whether they offer. Students are smart. They'll play around with the pivot table and, all of that Excel, and at least be able to go and meet with universities that offer courses that they are interested in. Rather than going around and knocking wrong doors, they'll at least be able to meet with universities and have quality engagement. Universities are looking at quality, not quantity. We're not looking at 1,000 students stopping by at our table. We're looking at 20 students that we'll have great conversations with. So let's keep that in mind as we are planning a fair, which is ask universities right off the bat and just make sure that you're doing this at the time of registration. There's no point doing that afterwards. Once the university is registered, there's going to be a lot of back and forth between you and the universities. So do that at the time of registration. Yes, ma'am, you had a question? Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So students, basically, they are more inclined towards the public universities, the government exams, and they were more focused towards going on to NITs and JEE and all that stuff. And when we encourage them, or we tell them, we discuss them about the various programs that the different universities are offering, the private universities, the financial constraints comes in front of them. And then, and when we, international universities, so they're like they feel like that's out of the league kind of things, hardly, 5 students, 6, 3 max, they'll be looking forward for the international universities.
Right.
So when we are calling the international universities, even though we are briefing them about the programs, the scholarship things and everything, parents' concerns, of course, it's a small area. So how do we encourage? Because most of the time when we're going to the class and they're like, this is not our cup of tea, ma'am. I'm going to talk.
Yeah, and
Go ahead. Okay. Go ahead first, answer it.
yeah, so you need to show them the value, right? I mean, cost. So I'll tell you, especially in India, what we've seen, it's no longer food, clothing, and shelter. It's food, clothing, education, and shelter, right? Parents would do anything to give them the best education. So the cost comes later. There are institutions that offer 100% scholarship. Of course, that's very competitive in its own way. There are institutions that offer need-based scholarships. Many institutions would offer that for international students. So take that at the time of registration. The whole idea, and that's the reason the orientation is really important, which is it's not about whether they go to that university. It's about exploring universities. Oftentimes for fairs, there's a misconception that it's about, and that's the point that we are trying to make, which is we're not salesmen. We're not coming to school to sell our universities. We're coming there to educate you about our programs, about our courses, about scholarships, application, everything. Well, it's up to the student. We're not forcing ourselves on them, but that's really the message that you got to carry to your students and parent community.
Yeah, just very quickly, and then I'll hand over to Kshitija. I think it's okay if your students are not going to international universities. There's nothing, it doesn't matter. Indian universities are fantastic. I represent a US university. My boss is sitting right there. But I know that he resonates, and the idea is it's not, you do not encourage students and families and parents to sell their homes and mortgage their homes for a 4-year degree in the United States. I'm sorry, that's not okay. That's not okay. Either you get a scholarship, so you prepare well enough, or you have the wherewithal to afford it. We do not want students who have risked their life, their entire family savings and have come there. That doesn't work. So we don't want that anyway. Don't even aspire for it. You be proud of your school profile. Wear it like a badge of honor. Yeah, go ahead, Kshitija.
Yeah, truly said. Okay. So very quickly, what during the fair? As a counselor, it's our event, so it's very, very important for us to be present and looking around what's happening in the hall. Because sometimes what happens, the kids just find it, oh, this is a free time. They're just, forming a group and talking. No, just tell them, go talk to the universities. They're here to talk to you. So just be there and make sure that you are looking after the event and your university delegates, that you are after all the host at that point in time. Of course, as I already mentioned, please, tell in the university representative well in advance about your data policy, your school's data policy, picture policy, so that they know and they could adhere to it. And yes, be a good host, offer some refreshments and everything to the university delegates. Basically, look after them well. They need to be. They're your guests, and so they're not just that they're there. It's their job. They're here to sell them or something like that. No, it's a pure collaboration for our students between university and counselors. So please be good. Be their good host, and for the students, please do orient them before the event. It's very, very important what universities are coming, because I know it's, as a counselor, I would not prefer if my student goes to Bhakti and say, can you tell me what should I do in life? Oh, and that means I was not doing anything, So please, just orient them and just tell them to be open-minded, because sometimes there are students who are very rigid. Oh, I will not go and talk to this university because I don't want to apply. It's not about application. It is about knowing about the university. Like, for example, if Bhakti is here, so Bhakti will not speak about her university only. She will speak about the entire education system in the US, right? So she is a person who has a fair idea about it. So please tell them to be open-minded. Go to the universities and talk. They're not going to take you away right away. They're not going to take you. So don't be afraid. Go talk to them. Ask relevant questions, as I said, and do take notes. There are students who would just go pick up the brochures and leave, right? So please orient them well that they're here to meet. You're not going to collect those brochures and throw them in the dustbin. Take brochures which are relevant to you. Do not just, collect it for the sake of collecting it. So the idea is not about brochures, it is about the meaningful interaction between the student and the university. So please orient them well before the fair, so that it is enough for them to have a meaningful interaction. Over to you, Bhakti.
Thanks, Kshitija. Last 2 slides, promise, guys, promise. But this is important stuff, okay? The refreshments bit that she spoke about earlier, it's funny, but I'm sorry, like, it's so true. We're rushing from school to school. I've seen schools where even water is not served. And, it's really sad. Like, please. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I'm not talking about your school. Okay, but yeah.
The snack that you had arranged for them to go on the move.
Yeah.
Took a little time for some weird reasons.
That's fine.
Make sure people move the gate and
That's great.
The car, put the sandwich.
Yes,
juices so that
absolutely. So that's called being a good host. That's the whole point. University reps get tired. And also, this whole power dynamic. Why do we have to stand here and tell you, please don't treat us like sales reps? Your kids are coming to us. We are not coming to your schools to study. Your students are coming to our universities. We're the ones who are granting them admissions. So there is no power dynamic here. There's no hierarchy.
It's a level playing field. Please understand that. So when a university admission officer or an outreach representative comes to you, treat them with the respect that they deserve, because there are hundreds and thousands of schools that we get kids from. So it's not a power dynamic, all right? Very quickly, please ask students to avoid asking us the name of the university. Like seriously, read the sign. We have students coming and saying, oh, which university is this? And I'm like, but that's a terrible way of starting a conversation. If that's the conversation starter, that's where orientation comes in. That is not a conversation starter. That is not a conversation starter. That is not okay. Please, there has to be a certain etiquette when you're talking to a university representative. This is not the way. Probing out admission chances. I can't be standing there and telling a student, you'll get it. I can't. And there are students who say, ma'am, I have this much. I can't do that. And please ask them not to, because it can be heartbreaking. There could be university reps who could mislead students and say, yes, you'll get scholarship. But it's not in their hands, right? So please tell students to take that with a pinch of salt and not even ask that question. Asking general career-related questions. We do not have the locus standi to answer questions about what you're going to do with your life. We do not have the locus standi to answer larger career guidance related questions. That's what you are here for. We're not here for that, right? Don't collect brochures ridiculously just for no reason, and please don't disrespectful. Again, comes from orientation. Moving on. Yes. Okay, so these are some, this is more relevant for universities, but you need to make sure that universities are adhering to this as well. We need to be punctual, right? If we don't know something, we need to say we don't know it. We don't need to answer every question that a student is asking. We need to be able to have some time with counselors, like you said, beforehand. How many of us actually get time to sit with counselors and understand the school that we're going to? Maybe it's a good idea to do an orientation, virtual 30-minute meeting with all the universities that you invited for your fair. Get online with them, have a 20-30-minute call, tell them about your school and answer questions. That's a great way to do a pre-orientation. And I strongly believe in this. Most schools don't have a policy on photographs. It's time for you to think about it. Because more and more universities are posting student pictures online. If you're okay with it, you don't have a view, that's fine. But think about it. It's one to be thought about. And we should not post those pictures without your permission if you have a policy. Right. Handing over.
Again, last slide. Very self-explanatory. Feedback from parents and students is going to be super relevant for you to continue engaging this, college fair or career fair in the future. That will actually tell you what you need to improve. What are some of the things that, like, one of the things that we've gotten to know from our feedback from high schools is to have an Indian university fair separately and a global university fair separately. Because with the Indian universities, the majority of students are actually going to the Indian universities, and the non-Indians are not having that great of a gala time. So do ask them for feedbacks. Take university feedbacks. Take feedbacks about what were the kind of questions your students asked. What were some of their top program choices that will only help you kind of define your fairs for the future in terms of what kind of institutions you want to be, you want to get there. Follow-up activities with universities. You could do webinars or anything of that sort. Again, there are some universities, some high schools who do that. There are some who don't do it. But I think that will be really encouraged to do that. And then you want to just add on the learnings?
Yeah. So as we meet the university reps and the university delegates, so I hope we all have a counseling curriculum or something in place to help students and all. So these fairs also teach you about if there are some miss at your curriculum. So take out the learnings, and maybe for the next year, you can involve them into your counseling curriculum on a regular basis. And on behalf of counselors and schools, I would suggest that we should try to avoid any financials, with the universities, because this is a pure collaboration with us for our students, between the university and schools. So, let's just not get into the financial part of organizing these fairs or anything. Let's just be meet and greet and purposeful events, right? So, for the profile bit, you all can you just put that? So we have some sample profiles which you can take a look, and in case you need it, you can reach to either of us. We'll be happy to share. And if you already have profile and you want to improve it or something, then that's also fine.
While you're doing that, just very quickly, on the part of student feedback, while we just putting the PDFs on screen, after the fair activities are very important, and here's why. When you start doing multi-year trend analysis, right, it is one of the most critical metrics for you to measure is the universities that you invited. How many of your students actually applied to them? How many enrolled? How many got scholarships? Right? So that kind of back tracking of your data and trends can only happen if you're seeing that the universities that came to your fair, was there a feedback loop with those universities? So it's one thing for universities to collect names of students who are interested, all of that. If you have a data collection policy which does not allow it, that's a separate matter. But if you don't, if you, for example, after the fair do a feedback form, which is a survey, asking students about their experience, which universities did they enjoy interactions with, any other feedback which might not be very positive, also the universities that they want to touch back base with. Based on that, you can have smaller group interactions for universities. So you can say, hey, University of Liverpool, there were 3 students who were interested in meeting you after the fair. And have a smaller group interaction with the University of Liverpool for those 3 kids. So that's a great feedback loop. Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, that's my school's profile. Ideally, it should be 1-pager, but I have 2-pager because we are very old school and we have a lot of things to show. So of course, if it's not clear, I'm happy to share, but the highlights, the curriculum that we follow, what are the accreditation and membership. So it gives you the universities an idea that what all activities at least the student is going to be involved in. What all exposure they have. Can I have the next page, please? Can you change the page, please? Yeah, so here I have like what co-curricular activities the school offer, what are the publications at the school, because it's easier because when the students put in that I've been writing in this publication, it's easy for a university to understand that's a school publication, what publications we have, what clubs and societies we have, and what are we doing in terms of community service. So it's very clearly written. So when the any university is reading my kids' application, they can easily find out from my profile that this is all in-house happening. So there's not a issue with that whether a child did this or not actually, and it is vetted by the school. Can I have the next page, please? Yeah, so assessment and grading. How our assessments are taking place, how are we grading them? Because we are grading them pretty strict, right? So for my school, if 80%, then in boards, the student is likely to cross 95%. So it's like a very strict grading. And then what curriculum we are following, right? So being in national curriculum also, we are more of like a liberal system where there is no on the science, not a stream selection kind. We are open to have a diverse selection at all levels. Can I have the last page, please? Yeah, and then the collegiates. Yeah. So they're clear that, okay, the huge chunk is going to the international universities and the few in India. So more of a picture presentation than the data is helpful for the universities to understand, and more of diagrams and all. So it's quickly, at a glance, a university can understand what kind of a school we are going to or what kind of a student the school is representing, right? So this is, of course, just one of the sample. It is not right now, but it'll be soon. But if you want, you can reach out to me. We are happy to share. Yeah.
And while we are on the point of universities, I do want to add a quick point for all our high school counselors. When you receive universities, just make sure that the domain for those universities is the university domain, These are not third-party domains. These are not Gmail domains. Just make sure that, any university that you're getting at your school is actually using a university domain. So in their email IDs.
I think that goes for the universities also, that the counselor is reaching out from the valid school ID.
Yeah, so
It's
we have counselors who give us their Gmail IDs. We trust that you're working with the with the school, but it's a very fair point. We're out of time completely. In fact, I'm thrilled. This is the first time ever in IC3 we've got 30 extra minutes to do our session, and nobody's thrown us out of this room. So that's fantastic. But just very quickly, just because it's a lot of information, when you go back now, what are you going to do with this information? One, write these words down. This will give you the structure. Purpose is number one. Define your purpose of university interactions. Your purpose dictates your formats. And these formats could be fairs, they could be smaller group interactions, they could be workshops, they could be one-on-ones, right? They could be multiple things. They could also be, I remember meeting a lot of students through KIC UnivAssist across schools in UAE and Southeast Asia, where we were invited to do like 20-minute setups during break time. So you have like 3 universities during break time every week. So you have like 30 minutes set aside every week, right? On a particular day of the week. And you're inviting 2 or 3 universities at a time. And so students, get that interaction time, right? So purpose, format, frequency, duration, and last but not the least, feedback. What happens after the fair is very, very important. So purpose, format, frequency, duration, feedback. Let this define your university interaction structures. Thank you all for sitting with us for an hour and a half. We had the best time. And on behalf of Kshitija and Rohit and I, have a great rest of the IC3 and give us feedback on our session. Thank you.